Have you ever felt like you've lost everything? Like the one thing you poured your heart and soul into was suddenly snatched away? Imagine building something from the ground up, only to be kicked out of your own creation. That's exactly what happened to Steve Jobs. But this isn't a story about failure. It's the story of the greatest comeback in business history. This is how Steve Jobs went from being fired by Apple to transforming it into the most valuable company on the planet. Let's rewind to 1985. Apple, the company Jobs co-founded in his parents' garage, was a rising star. But inside, a storm was brewing. Jobs, known for his passionate but often abrasive style, clashed with the COO he had personally recruited, John Sculley. The board, siding with Sculley, made an unthinkable decision. They ousted Steve Jobs. He was just 30 years old. He later described it as devastating. The very thing that had been the focus of his entire adult life was gone. For many, this would have been the end. But for Jobs, it was, in his own words, a very bitter-tasting medicine. But I guess the patient needed it. So, what do you do when you're a visionary genius without a company? You start a new one, of course, and then another one. Jobs didn't waste time wallowing. He founded Next, a computer company aimed at the higher education market. Next, computers were technical marvels, far ahead of their time, with groundbreaking software. Though they weren't a huge commercial success, they were a hotbed of innovation. The operating system Next Step was revolutionary. It was powerful, elegant, and user-friendly. Remember that, because it becomes incredibly important later. Simultaneously, Jobs saw potential in a little-known computer graphics division at Lucas. I bought it for $10 million and renamed it Pixar. Yes, that. Pixar. Under Jobs' leadership and funding, Pixar pivoted from selling hardware to creating fully computer-animated films. Their first feature, a little movie you might have heard of called Toy Story. It completely changed the animation industry forever and turned Pixar into a household name. Through Next and Pixar, Jobs was not just staying busy. He was honing his skills, learning from his past mistakes, and building the very tools that would fuel his return. Meanwhile, back at Apple, things were not going well. Without Jobs' vision, the company had lost its way. It was churning out a confusing array of beige boxers. Market share was plummeting, and by 1997, Apple was reportedly just 90 days from bankruptcy. The company was on the brink of collapse. In a desperate move, Apple's then CEO Gil Amelio decided the company needed a new, modern operating system to survive. After looking at various options, they made a stunning choice. They would acquire Next for $429 million. And with that acquisition, they brought back its founder, Steve Jobs, initially as an informal advisor. The advisor role didn't last long. It was clear Apple needed a leader, not a consultant. Soon, the board removed Amelio, and Steve Jobs was named interim CEO, or as he liked to call it, ICO. The comeback had officially begun. The first thing he did was ruthless, but necessary. He took a hard look at Apple's bloated product line and slashed it. He famously drew a simple 4-quadrant grid on a whiteboard, a laptop and a desktop, for consumers and for pros. That's it. Everything else was canceled. He refocused the entire company on making just a few products, but making them exceptionally well. This new focus led to a creative renaissance. In 1998, Jobs, working closely with a brilliant designer named Jony Ive, unveiled the iMac. It was unlike any computer anyone had ever seen. It was a colorful, all-in-one, translucent bubble that shouted fun and creativity. The I in iMac, Jobs explained, stood for Internet, Individual, Instruct, Inform, and Inspire. It was a smash hit, and it announced to the world that Apple was back. More importantly, it established a new design language and a philosophy that would define Apple for decades to come. Technology should be beautiful, simple, and human. The iMac was just the beginning. Jobs wasn't just thinking about computers. He was thinking about a digital hub strategy, where the Mac would be the center of your digital life. This led to an incredible string of world-changing products. In 2001, he introduced the iPod. It wasn't the first MP3 player, but it was the first one that was actually good. With its iconic scroll wheel and the slogan 1,000 songs in your pocket, it completely revolutionized the music industry. Paired with the iTunes Store, it created an ecosystem that was seamless and addictive. Next, Jobs set his sights on the phone industry. He saw that existing smartphones were clunky, complicated, and not very smart. He envisioned a device that was a phone, an internet communicator, and a widescreen iPod, all in one. In 2007, he walked on stage and introduced the iPhone. The world was never the same. It wiped out entire industries and created new ones overnight. The App Store, launched a year later, unleashed a wave of innovation that we're still riding today. The iPhone wasn't just a product. It was a cultural phenomenon. Following the iPhone's success, Jobs identified another opportunity. He saw a space between the laptop and the smartphone for a new category of device. In 2010, he unveiled the iPad, creating the modern tablet market from scratch. Each of these products, iPod, iPhone, iPod, was a masterclass in Jobs' philosophy. They were the result of an obsessive focus on user experience, a deep integration of hardware and software, and a genius for marketing that turned product launches into global cultural events. Steve Jobs' return to Apple is more than just a business story. It's a testament to resilience, vision, and the power of believing in your own ideas, even when the world tells you you're wrong. He took a company on the verge of death and, in a little over a decade, transformed it into a symbol of innovation and a cornerstone of modern culture. He didn't just save Apple, he reinvented it and, in the process, changed how we all live, work, and connect with each other. His journey reminds us that sometimes getting fired can be the best thing that ever happens to you. Thank you so much for watching. What's your favorite Apple product from the Steve Jobs era? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the minds that shaped our world. See you in the next one.